Hello, I'm Wesley Walker.
I'm Samantha Lawyer.
And I'm Brad Ellis. We're all with Wyvern Gaming.
Thank you for helping us make a great game.
Brad, tell me a little bit about our living system that we're having.
Sure. So the plan is to launch it where the episodes are coming out over the course of a year, and as the episodes are going on, you're playing a character that is living in the series. So it's a living RPG series. Think of it as like a TV show that your character is a part of, living within that episode. And over a course of a year, we will have different storylines that we'll play through, and your actions and the actions of the other people who are playing the game will affect the outcome later in the season. So we're really excited to bring that to all the fans, and we think it's going to be really fun.
I've had a lot of fun with it so far, beta testing and everything. Sam, what's your favorite characters so far with our beta testing?
So far, I'm going to have to say it would be the Aturan Medic. That's fun to play. It's fun to create a story with a new race. I also like playing the Jaffa Scientist. I have a lot of fun with her, with making her more focused on the science aspects of everything versus basically what everybody else is doing. I have fun just taking her on tangents.
Yeah, it's a nice twist on the Jaffa, because the Jaffa are usually noted as soldiers and a rough people, but having a scientist as a Jaffa, that's a completely different aspect.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, one of the great things about where we were able to do the Phoenix site, being able to have this Phoenix site allows us to have all the different races beyond just humans. So that's been a real adder to the game, I think.
Mm-hmm. What got you started with Wyvern Gaming?
Oh, goodness. Well, at the time, it was my buddy Phil. He he woke up, he messaged me one day, and he said he's been up all night working on these games, and he says, I've got this great idea. We've got to do this thing. So he basically was the brainchild of a lot of the games that we have. And since then, we've just been rolling.
Pretty good. Yeah, I remember the day that I came over to visit at your house, and Sam and Phil were there, and we were all sitting around a fire, and y'all offered me the ability to join in on Wyvern Gaming, and I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
I remember the night before he messaged Brad, he woke me up in the middle of the night. He said, I got this idea. Not half asleep. I just told him, just write it down, talk to me in the morning. And little did I know he did.
Yeah, that was the thing that I told him too when he told me the idea. It was like, okay, great. Make a play test and we'll figure it out. And we'll try it. And because I always wanted to make sure that I wanted him to put some effort into it to make sure that he was serious about it.
Right.
Yes, yeah. He's always had ideas, and he never followed through on those ideas, and I was pleasantly surprised when he did. Yeah,
for sure. That first game was Cthulhu, a deck building game, which was, it's been our flagship product for a while, and his idea of having a role playing game was something that he's had for quite a while. And Stargate was a dream come true, and thankfully he learned about the fact that we got the license right before he passed, and we're doing this for you, Phil. Thanks,
buddy. So hey guys, we're just reaching out to you real quick here at Wyvern Gaming. We would like to ask some questions and have questions asked to us about the playtesting and where we're currently at with the game. We're trying to develop the best game that we can for you guys. So if you can, go on our website, ask questions. That way we can go on and answer these questions. We've had a lot of questions already. We've been able to address those questions. It's helped us tremendously in game development. The more questions that come in, hey, the better we can make a game for you guys that you're going to really, really, really enjoy.
Yeah, we'll create a entry in our forums. So if you go to stargatetherpg.com and head over to the forums into the general area, there'll be a forum post in there where you can post questions that we'll answer on camera and give you guys answers best we can.
Yeah, we'll try and respond as fast as we can with those questions. So yeah, that's stargatetherpg.com. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Hold on one second. Okay. So yeah, I'm Wes Walker. I'm also one of the co-creator slash founder slash owner of Wyvern Gaming. Um, I'm the jack of all trades in Wyvern Gaming. I do everything and apparently hardly anything at all.
Sorry.
But other than that, love Stargate. Have since the beginning. Was really, really excited when we were able to start working on this project. I mean, yeah, I'm stoked.
Great. So, actually, what my introduction was completely muted, so I apologize for that, guys. Hopefully, you guys can hear us now. So, what I was saying was, this is an Ask Me Anything session. You can ask us questions about the Stargate RPG. There's two places you can do it. There's on the Discord Comic Con channel under the affiliate channel Stargate, or you can ask us questions on the YouTube live where the stream is being placed. So I apologize. Again, my name's Brad Ellis. I'm the CEO of Wyvern Gaming. And Wes just did his introduction. And then Mac, do you want to do yours? You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix that real quick. I'm not gonna make that mistake too. I'm Mac. I'm the lead designer on this one. I was brought in by the guys at Wyvern Game to be the industry schmuck who makes this crazy game happen. You know, I'm the guy who puts words in pages.
Great. Lee, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Lee Alley. I'm one of the writers for the Living campaign for season 1, and I was just one of those schmucks that loved role playing. And you guys needed some writers. I submitted. You guys accepted. You like what I had, and now I am writing for you guys. So very, very cool opportunity. Thanks for having me. This is an exciting time for being a Stargate fan, I gotta say.
Absolutely. And you guys, and you have a podcast as well, right?
Yeah, Roll of the Dice podcast. Just giving advice for role players, game masters, all the fun stuff. I've been gaming for more than 20 years. I mean, that's kind of everyone's story, isn't it? Like even role playing since.
So what's your like biggest point of advice for role players?
Uh-oh.
A game master or player? It's the same. It's the same. Don't be a jerk.
Okay, yeah.
It's usually the same. Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a
That's
jerk.
one.
Okay.
For sure. Looks like we did have our first question. Someone's asked, what is the Kickstarter dates? The best we can give right now is later this year. There will be a date released very soon. And I say very soon. In the next month and a half, I believe we'll be releasing a date for the date. And the other thing was expansions ? And supplemental books ? So we're going to do the Kickstarter and then have the physical book come out early 2021. And then obviously, depending on the success of that, which we're hoping for great success here because we've gotten such great feedback from everybody and everybody's extremely excited. that we do plan on doing expansions. So based on the success that we have, we'll continue from there. So the idea,
yeah, it's up to you guys whether we have expansions or not.
yes, yes, for sure. So,
But yes, we've already got in our brains, we've already got expansions and their ideas on paper. So if as long as they can be supported, then they will come to fruition.
yep,
And for the most part, it's Stargate stuff, so it's real easy to just kind of progress through seasons, bring in the new stuff, talk about where the world moved, and give the GMs and players all those neat toys for dealing with the latest season baddies. If you want to, bring in the loop in the actual Stargate SG1 show, as opposed to just telling your own story.
sure.
Yeah, I think we're all fans, and I am chomping at the bit till we get to Atlantis. So I think we're all looking forward to
Yes.
exploring more and more what we can in Stargate.
Who doesn't want to get into
yeah.
a puddle jumper?
Exactly.
That's just the Jason Momoa effect.
Yes, right, exactly. Someone asked, how similar is the game to the previous version from AEG? Mac, do you want to maybe take that one?
Yeah, I can tackle that one. We do not have the license for the AEG system. I'm very familiar with it. I really liked their version of Star Wars as well. It's a really great system, but that's just not on the table because that's not a license we can get. We'll be using the 5th edition core rule system, using the OGL for that. And we've made a lot of changes under the hood and a lot of changes to the structure of an adventure, of an actual session when you sit down, to make that system play a TV show, to feel like you're playing in a golden age of TV, premier level television series.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think
So yeah, I mean the biggest mechanical difference you can think of is that AEG's was written off of 3.5,
no,
and this is off.
No, theirs is a D6 system.
It's a D6 system.
Oh, it's a D6. Oh yeah, okay. I don't know why I thought 3.5. Anyway, so yeah,
You're probably thinking of there's a couple of sci-fi ones that came out in 3.5 that are very close because of the exploratory nature.
Yeah.
Right. Stargate feels like it's a natural connection to a Dungeons and Dragons style game because there's such an episodic structure. Right. You're going through the Stargate to a place to deal with a thing, and then you come back home. And because of that episodic exploration nature of most of the Stargate universe, especially SG1, it really lends itself to that traditional evening of gameplay, Dungeons and Dragons style mechanics. So thankfully, a lot of the mechanics in 5th edition didn't need too much under the engine hood work. Hit points and AC definitely need some changes to make it feel like gunfights in a TV show, not these super brutal affairs that happen in a in like a Tom Clancy novel.
I think the one question that a lot of people ask me about the choice of 5th edition that they didn't like was they wanted like a classless type system, and we actually addressed that. And one of the things we did is we made levels 1 through 5 where you have a class and you have a character build as you go, but then post 5 you're basically classless. So very similar to the TV show, you have Daniel Jackson, who came in basically as a scientist or a historian, I guess, archaeologist. Yeah, and by the end of the 10th season, before that, really, he was basically a soldier towards the end, towards the middle
skill
of the.
level wise, yeah, maybe not temperament and character, but like skill level, he would hold his own with anyone else with a pistol.
So cross training to other classes is not only encouraged; it's required post 5th level, basically.
There's a lot of feats that don't appear on the 1 to 5, like that really unlock as you level up as well. And those are just kind of benchmarked at your proficiency bonuses.
Yep. Looks like we had a question for Lee specifically. It says, what places do you go to outside of Stargate, if at all, for inspiration for your writing, storytelling, and world building?
I think the best answer for anyone that wants to write a game, a session, an adventure, an entire campaign, it has to excite you first. If it doesn't grip you with anything, then that's not going to translate necessarily from your writing, for your actions, and then to your players. I think that's the main thing you want to do. Is if you're excited about it, you're going to write something exciting. A better answer, I think, might be I like history. I really, really like history. And so when I'm looking at Stargate, I'm looking at like what's the overall point of Stargate for stories that are being told is we are the underdogs. We have to do whatever we can to beat the Goa'uld. So war stories are great. World War II ideas, spy stuff. It's really just taking ideas that interest you and just kind of taking that idea, that plot that you saw in a story, and try to plug it into Stargate and add those elements of Stargate to make it your own story.
Great.
I think something too is like you want to put yourself in the shoes of, like you're sitting there saying, you know, there's these war stories and all and history. You know, kids read your history books, but thinking about, you know, it's different to think about history as history and think about as putting yourself in the history. You know, now you're the person that could be walking around the pyramids. You could be the person walking amongst their sarcophaguses. You know, you're putting yourself in those shoes.
Those are way better answers than mine. I was just going to say thesaurus.com.
Yes, I agree. That is a better answer.
I know a lot of people.
In my search history, it's thesaurus.com and the Stargate wikis. No matter how well you know an IP, it's always a good idea to just double check before you put it in. You know.
We'll have you stick to the mechanics, Mac.
Yeah.
So, Brad, we have a question on our Discord side.
Yep.
We're gonna have to tiptoe around this one. How was the deal with MGM and Brangenuity to get the SG license?
Well,
Who did that? None of us really were involved with that. That was.
No, we were involved. It's something behind the scenes. I would like to take that question offline, I think.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I was gonna.
Yeah.
Like, again, that's a tiptoe around that. We can't talk about that on this.
So someone did ask, how much permission did you need from MGM Stargate Company for new material? So everything that we're doing is this is licensed from MGM. So and they are reviewing all the bits and pieces, all art, all new races, all new mechanics, all the things are going through review by both canon lore masters of the Stargate universe, you know, beyond ourselves, and the folks at MGM are going through it. And the reason for that is we are considering this stuff canon, and that's very important to us that it fits within the universe so that it works out right.
Yeah. And the fans will definitely appreciate that it is being gone through with a fine tooth comb. So,
and that's pretty standard for IP work in the industry in general. Is you definitely work closely with the IP holders to make sure you're not doing anything they don't approve of.
Yep.
Right. You know, there's always like things like, oh, hey, we need to change this little piece of art, or we need to rewrite this section. This doesn't sound right. That's not to our tone. It's like, yeah, all right, that's just, you know, the process of making these games.
Yep. But there's definitely new material that will be published as part of this book. We have a whole chapter that's going to be basically new material. We have the Stargate Phoenix site, which is a new facility, like an alpha site, but it's specifically its purpose is to house the freedom fighters from across the galaxy to train them up in the SGC way and send them off on missions. That's how you are able to play other races in the galaxy as a Stargate Command team member, basically. So the site's called Phoenix Site, and it is commanded by General PK Lawyer.
And this particular chapter that Brad's talking about is a very sizable chapter. I'd have to say it's veering on the
one.
largest. I think it is the biggest chapter in the book. So which there's big chapters in the book. So yeah, it's a lot of material to go
the
through.
Single largest chapter. I think the second biggest is feats.
Yep. Or equipment.
I know that it took
or
when
life
we
forms.
read
Life
over
forms
when we oh yeah, life form's pretty big. When we read over to edit and review that chapter, just to read over and make sure everything sounded good, it took days to read that chapter. So
I think it's like 100 pages thereabouts, if not more.
Yeah,
by
somewhere
now.
in that ballpark.
Well, the original document was 126 pages. Was the original document for that chapter?
Yeah.
And it's not just 100 pages. It's 100 pages of in-world communication by Rodriguez to and from her team, and it's all like it's
good stuff.
It's her and her team trying to assemble the book for the new recruits.
Right.
You got snippets of O'Neill in there and in his viewpoint on something. Like it's really really interesting stuff. I like it a lot for being a fan. Good stuff.
All right. We have Philip asking, do you tend to be the awesomely names? What? Do you tend to be the awesomely names Gatemaster or player? Or is it even amount of both as you test? I'm not exactly sure I understand the question.
I think he's asking, would we rather be the game master or Gatemaster or the player?
Or both. Oh, okay.
Or is it both?
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you for translating. I enjoy being the Gatemaster myself. I'm the guy who I like to tell the story and run the NPCs and help guide people through the story. That's what I enjoy doing probably the most. Wes?
I actually loathed being the Gatemaster for the longest time. When I was at a convention and somebody walked up to me and they were like, "Hey, Wes, can you run this game?" I'm like, "Oh man, yeah, I'll run it." But it's progressed a lot, and yeah, I'm on Brad's side now. I really like enjoying being the Game Master more than the player. I mean, because now it's like being the player is just kind of like, oh, I'm just this person of six, of five other people, and
which can be fun too.
Turn and yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it can be fun too, especially when you make those crit rolls. But
well, being able to progress your characters from 1 to N, whatever it is. I love planning the player progression, the player character progression. That's also something I love doing. Sometimes I'll just build characters.
Well, see, that's where I think when we got out of the living campaign system from Living Greyhawk, like that's where I really started being the dungeon master, because I had no reason to progress a character anymore. But in the living campaign, I actually had a character to progress, and it felt really good to progress that character. But then when there was no more living campaign, it's like, what's the purpose of this?
I think I know Lee's answer to this one. Do you want to?
Yeah, I like being the GM. I like being the Gate Master. I think it comes from having these ideas and stories I want to tell, and to have everyone around the table enjoy what is happening and getting their input into the story. I think I like that most. It's the challenge of blending their ideas into the story idea you have, and when you get to that point where everything just clicks just right and it's this little sense of nirvana, I think that's my biggest joy, and that's what I really like to get when I'm game mastering.
It was totally obvious last night when we were watching your game stream online. You were loving role playing Arlo.
I like to role play. Not a good actor. I didn't like watching myself for the first time. I mean, I've been GMing for forever now, but watching myself, that's painful. But yeah, definitely like being the game master.
Yeah. What about you, Mac?
I mean, I'm a forever GM. I get to play rarely enough, and like Wes said, the worst part about being a player after you GM this much is waiting your turn.
Yeah,
that too.
Right. So I much prefer to GM myself, and I almost kind of prefer to design the game for the game master, not the players. Like, there's a lot you need to give players to make sure that they're invested and got to make their character and have fun. but we know what those tools are. Like, that's about making them right and building them properly. Building for the GM is about giving him the tools to tell a story, and that's a whole different beast.
See, I think, it's like going in stages. It's one of those, okay, you have your characters and you enjoy building your characters, but then after you've done that so long, then you start building your game. So then you start writing the episodes and you start building those. And then after you do that so long, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna start creating the game, and then you become a max stage.
Oh, I tell you, when I run like Shadowrun or Pathfinder or other games, my players hate how many, like, I did this new system. Here you go. We're using this now. I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
I bet. Can only
He's the
imagine.
ultimate at, no, we're playing house rules today.
Every campaign's like, here's your house rules document. It's for this campaign.
Yep. Here's a great question from Gate Gab. Hey, Gabby. Can you explain exactly how? It just scrolled on me. How the living campaign works? How do groups sign up to participate? Great question that I would love to answer. So, Stargate Phoenix, a living RPG series, is what we are. One of the things we're creating. So, you have the core rulebook, which you can play. You can basically use to run games two different ways. You can have a homebrew, which is your home. You have a GM that's running a campaign week after week that's at the same table, and it's the same players there at the table week after week. Then you have the living campaign or living series way, where we as the publisher, Wyvern Gaming, we're publishing episodes in the form of a season. So it's a 13 episode season that'll be released over the course of a year, and you as a player can participate in those episodes from week to week, or however often you want to play. You can come and go as you please, as long as you can find a Gatemaster that will run the episodes for you. You can jump in on any table in any convention or anywhere that you happen to be that's running the game, which is a really cool thing for the folks who can't commit to that very strict week to week schedule that a homebrew usually has. So the way you sign up and participate in our living series is we wanted to make sure that your participation in the story mattered. That was very important to us. We've played, both Wes and I and probably others have played in living campaigns in the past where you play in the game, but it feels like what you did didn't really make any difference. So we wanted to make sure that wasn't the case in this particular one. So we spent a lot of time actually also developing our website, StargateTheRPG.com. You can go on there and sign up, and you can there's a play section where you can create a character. Right now it's just simple things. You just put in like a name, your race, and your class, essentially. There might be some more features to that down the road. We'll see how it goes. But at the very least, you sign up with that information. Once that's there, then you have, on the other side, you have your Gatemasters, who will obtain episodes via the Stargate the RPG site as well. And once they are they have those episodes, they can create what's called episode runs. Episode runs is basically a scheduled instance of a particular episode, and those will be be able to where you can find them, or you can be invited to them, or you might show up at a convention and those are already set up for you. So then once you sit down at the table, the GM, the Gatemaster, will have either a QR code that you'll be able to scan, or she will have a link that they'll provide that you'll go to, and then you'll add your character from online to that episode run. And what that does is it basically says, I played this particular episode. Then you play your episode, and at the end of the episode, the Gatemaster will report the results via an after action report, basically saying what are the things that happened. So there's each episode's going to have some major objectives, and this is also how you will obtain your mission points I'm sorry, yeah, mission points, which is how you level your character, and also how those objectives, whether or not you saved a important NPC or not, and if you did, that NPC may show up in a later episode down the line. So as players, you all play the episodes, and then after a period of time, probably around 6 weeks, we're going to basically take all the compiled results of everything that's been run for that particular episode, and the majority actions of what happened in those particular episodes become, quote, canon for that episode. And we're going to publish that via the Stargate the RPG website. And the things that happen in that particular episode officially are going to be what influences the episodes down the road. So you, as a player character, can influence what is happening in the campaign or the series overall. So it's a really exciting and fun thing to jump in on, I think. I'm really excited about it. And I know it sounded maybe kind of a little complicated when I explained it, but that's kind of the gist of it. We're going to be releasing some videos and things like that on how to do all this in the near future.
So, in short, when
Too
you
late.
sit down at the table, your GM runs the game for you. He passes out QR codes as rewards. After that, he scans them, or you scan them and report that you played the game by him. At that point in time, he will verify this. You will get the rewards that he says that your table got. At which time, if you do not scan those, then he doesn't get credit and you don't get credit. So it's in your best interest to scan those codes. So yeah, you can't level your character without MP.
Yep. So that's the gist of it. Sorry, I was really long-winded, but I had a lot to say there.
How dare you? Says
There's a
me.
lot involved.
Yeah, so there's a lot involved. But the reason it is because we want to make sure, like I said, we want to make sure that it matters. You playing in a particular episode matters, and
Right.
we got to be able to track it to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll give us the idea that, hey, look, 70% of these players have killed this big baddie, so we need to go ahead and in our future episodes kill this big baddie off, and make it where he doesn't show up again, or it ripples, from that effect.
I think, Brad and Wes, your idea for this living campaign is great because trying to give everyone that homebrew feel of playing in a campaign where your actions matter, your character's actions will matter in our story. And I think that's a really important part and really fun part that, exactly. Fill out those things because it is going to impact what myself and the other writers are going to be writing and changing and growing along with what the players mainly do. So I think that's why it's really, really exciting and challenging, of course.
It's the narrative equivalent of designing a pachinko machine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Balls fall down.
Our next question is, where's the space combat rules?
Those are kind of in there. We have done the air battle, I think we call it
Aerial combat, I think is what you
aerial
call it.
combat.
I think so.
I think is what we've got it called. But
That's-
yeah, there are those rules.
That's in atmosphere combat, though, right?
Those rules also work for space combat. A lot of the rules of, again, we're talking about television and not real. So a lot of the rules to television space combat are the same rules that apply to things like Top Gun. So it's more about making those decisions as a character, not exactly positioning your fighter because you moved 4 squares up and you rotated three squares in this hex or 3 angles on the hex because you have this maneuverability, so you're moving to here and you're gaining this much out. No, it's about that moment when you try to lose him, when you're trying to get into the good position, when you're pulling into the trench and you're moving through the trenches, the canyon, trying to get to your positions. So it's all about that sort of thing, and that's also flying through space debris. That's all that narrative same kind of.
It's also important to note that the RPG, what we're starting the where the campaign basically at season 6, episode 9. So there's in the show itself, there's actually not really space combat at this point. It's very almost there. So maybe in our next expansion, we might expand upon space combat a little bit, assuming we get there.
So yesterday in our AMA from yesterday, we talked about some of the new mechanics that we added in the game. One of the ones that we didn't talk about, which there was quite a few that we didn't talk about, but one of them was the pursuit encounter. You want to go in detail about that, Mac?
Oh, sure. That's that one's a fun one. At least I enjoy running because so many action scenes in movies and TV end in a chase or begin with a chase, right? That's just a big part of it. And especially when you're trying to do something like guys on ATVs with machine guns, with guys on horses next to you, all that crazy, theater of the imagination stuff you do. It's really helpful to have a set of rules where you're trying to get into lead position, guide the way things are going, deal with obstacles as they're thrown up, and that sort of thing. So we do have a specific kind of encounter that's about those moments where you're doing either a foot chase or even a chase in spacecraft. Like if you're chasing someone through an asteroid field, you might not be doing aerial combat. You might be doing a pursuit.
Right. Avoiding asteroids and meteors and
avoiding asteroids, getting a target lock on your, on those death gliders as you all move through the asteroids, and they're more nimble than the F-30s, F-302. Like, how is that going to work?
Yeah, that's one of the things I really loved about what you designed here, Mac, with the encounters, just in general, because in my mind, a lot of the encounter that you would have in D&D would be, quote, combat. Well, we've expanded on that, or Mac did. Basically, combat is basically a skirmish, is what we're calling it. So there's beyond that, there's other action types of encounters like a firefight, which is more of a larger battlefield map type of scenario. You have the pursuit, which he was just talking about. You have the aerial combat, that's another action one. Then you have the more plot specific encounters, like a convince encounter, where you're trying to convince the senator to continue funding for the program. You have interrogation type things. You have diplomatic functions. Those are all different types of encounters that we've added, or Mac has added to the 5th edition, which I find they're really, really great, and I enjoyed actually being able to put some structure around a lot of those things that typically happen in a game. So it's ways where the game is not so focused on combat, which is a lot of times what happens in a D&D fantasy type of setting, is everybody's just waiting for the combat to happen. Where in this scenario, it's not so much combat focused. It's got all these other encounter types that are just as fun and exciting to play in.
Well, I mean, as an example of that, being able to engineer a device, like that's another type of encounter that's been
R&D.
brought up.
Yep.
To be able to do some R&D, you need to make some kind of device that will allow you to grapple up this mountainside, and all you have is, I don't know, some straw and
barbed wire and, and an old pulley, Yeah.
Well, let's go in and do an R&D on it and go through that encounter to see what we can make.
Go to that barn, do a little montage to some music, and see what we build.
We got another one from Gabby. What Stargate races can be used to create a player character? Who wants to take that one? I talk too much.
So we have our humans of many origins, and then we have our Unas. Then we have Tolkra. We have Jaffa. And
Turin.
Our Turin. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So a Turin are a new race that we have come up with. So a lot of people were kind of wanting to know about some of the more some of the higher being races that were more advanced than the Tauri. A lot of people wanted to play
Nox.
Asgards. A lot of people wanted to play the Nox. A lot of people wanted to play Ancients. It's just they're too powerful. So what we did as a compromise is we went ahead and created a race called the Aturan. They were nurtured.
Approved by MGM.
Yes, that too. They were nurtured by the Nox. They were originally a warring race, and they were on a path of self-destruction. One of the diplomats of the Nox went ahead and reached out, not Nox, but Aturan reached out to the Nox for guidance, and the Nox agreed. One of the Nox agreed to help them on their path, or they knew that they would destroy their world. They were that close to destruction. Now the Nox don't like to interfere in a lot of things, but in this case, they were a neighboring planet, and the Nox felt that the destruction of the Aturan's planet could ripple over to the Nox. So at that point in time, that's where they really wanted to step in and nurture the Aturan, teach them how to be more peaceful, love nature, and for many years, that's been their path is to be a more nature-driven type of culture. But on top of that, they're still young, as they say, they're young. Because they're young, they're curious, and they want to do some exploration. So that's where they kind of step in with the SGC, and now they get to be part of this exploratory group.
Yep. And the question's going to come up as, why didn't we see them, and haven't we seen them in the SG1 series so far? That answer is in the book. You'll have to get it to find out. I think we should ask Lee this elephant in the room that he's got sitting behind him. All these wonderful books you got. Which one of those is your favorite back there?
I can't pick a favorite. It's
No?
like picking your favorite kid. I can't do that.
So we'll start. We'll go back to that and start with saying, how did you get started with role playing?
Okay. Back in 5th grade, in 1980, whatever. Yeah, it was one of those things of finding this blue box that had, I thought was a board game, and then going out and handing it to my friends and sitting outside during recess. And we figured out it was this weird adventure game called Dungeons and Dragons. And my first character was a dwarf. I think it was a pre-made character. I don't remember. It was the 5th grade. But that was the beginning of my love for role-playing. It was, what is this? What is this? I use imagination. This is even more imagination and a board game. So I think that's where it started. Then, of course, high school, doing all the D&D stuff, AD&D. Then after college, 3rd edition D&D. But then we started playing this other game. So I guess my one of my favorites is Deadlands. The Weird West. That's the one that's really
Good one.
put me in awesome. Put me into the seat of running games. I was just a player up until that point. I had a friend, childhood friend, that would always run the games, and then he just kind of got to a point in like, I can't think of any more stories. You want to take over, and that's kind of where it catapulted. And then playing all these games really helps out in storytelling, I feel, because you have different mechanics, different ideas. Exploring all these different things really helps in storytelling and having fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so here we are, Stargate, something else. Oh my God, it's a world that you want to play in, and that's the other thing. It's I love playing in established worlds already. I typically don't run games that I make up or worlds I make up. I like to play in worlds that already exist. Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever it be. I think because there's a lot of fun to be had there. You're watching the show. I think you mentioned this before. You just kind of picture yourself on the bridge of the Enterprise. What would I do? What would be my position? What would happen in this situation? And I think that's why I love role playing so much. We get to see what happens.
Yeah. So yeah, to add to that, going in with you just watch an episode of SG1, and if you want to say create an episode of your own. You could just watch one episode of SG1 and say, well, what would, if you revisited this world, what would it be like? And then you just start writing from there, start thinking about it from there.
Yeah, it's the what if, or what happened to that, or just placing yourself in that position.
There's so many plot hooks in Stargate for sure.
Yep, exactly.
I highly recommend that box set to any GM.
For sure. Well, Mac, I also wanted to ask you about your previous game development experience. What other games have you worked on? I know this, but
Sure, of course. Well, I cut my teeth over at Fantasy Flight Games in the Dark Heresy as the producer for the Dark Heresy line. Then I've worked on, part of the RPG team for the whole thing, for just a huge swath of games. And then I was over at Weird. I designed their second edition of their miniatures game, Malifaux, and the Through the Breach role-playing the game, which has now got a second edition, which looks pretty great. Then I've just been working industry gigs since then, doing, various IP projects. Some get to light, some don't. But it's just a lot of role-playing games in my history. Just a lot of role-playing.
We'll answer this question really fast. What classes can you play? And then we're going to sign off. So this will be the last question. So there's let's see if I can do it. The engineer, the scientist, the medic, the soldier, and the diplomat.
Scout. And the scout.
Scout. Ow, shoot. There's always one, right?
Yeah.
There's 6 of them.
So those are, and like I said, you choose one of those at first level, and you go through level 5, and then at that point, it's kind of a free-for-all. You start to go classless, and you start building. You choosing feats based on whichever direction you want to go. If you want to make a soldier that's also a very good medic, a field medic, for example, you could certainly do that. Go down that path.
A great example are the two iconics, Rodriguez and Atir. Rodriguez and Atir are both kind of started their career as soldiers, but they're very different characters. Especially before they hit 5, but even more so are after they go into that kind of specialist leveling approach.
Yep. So we're coming on an hour, so I'm going to call it here with you guys. Really appreciate everybody joining us. Lee, Mac, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Our next thing that will be broadcast is at 3 p.m. Pacific time. We have another wonderful game. This one is by Elena Dawn. She's run some episodes for us, and it's a really great one. She's got a great little stream going that I would recommend. Go tune in for that at 3, and you can see her and her crew run some games.
And if you have any more questions, you can always ask us on Discord. Go sign up on our Discord at Wyvern Gaming or the website. It's StargateTheRPG.com.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.